All right, let's get right into it. There's been a huge shakeup in the U.S. tariff world, and it's aimed right at Thailand's biggest export industry, electronics. Now, at first glance, this looks like amazing news for Thailand. But when you dig a little deeper, you start to see that this win might actually be a hidden trap. So, the big question is, right, is this tariff cut really the massive boost it seems to be for Thailand's economy? Or is there something else going on? A catch that could flip this whole thing on its head and become a major threat. Okay, let's break it down.
Okay, so first, let's talk about the good news, because it really did seem like a huge victory. You've got to understand, for months, the entire Thai electronics industry was holding its breath, just bracing for a massive, massive blow. And then, poof, seemingly out of nowhere, that threat just vanished.
Get this. The industry was staring down the barrel of a crippling 36% tariff that was supposed to hit next year. 36%! But instead, the U.S. turned around and announced a new rate of just 19%, kicking in this August. I mean, you can just imagine the massive sigh of relief from exporters. This took what looked like an absolute disaster and turned it into what seems like a pretty sweet competitive advantage.
And this new rate? It's a game changer for Thailand's position in the whole region. Suddenly, they're right there on a level playing field with major competitors like Malaysia and the Philippines. They even get a little leg up on Vietnam, which is sitting at 20%. Now, sure, Singapore is still way out ahead at 10%, but this really does even things out for Thailand in a big way. But, and this is a big but, that is not the whole story.
Yeah, because hiding just behind that good news is a really nasty catch. And this right here is where everything gets incredibly complicated for Thailand. So to really get what's going on, you have to understand this one word, transshipment. It's basically a shell game. It's when goods that are really from, say, China get routed through another country like Thailand to try and hide where they came from and, get around U.S. tariffs. And let me tell you, the U.S. is cracking down on this hard.
So if the U.S. decides a product is a transshipment, it doesn't get that nice new 19% tariff. No. Instead, it gets slapped with a 40% penalty, a massive 40% penalty. And this is a huge risk for Thailand because its whole electronics industry is built on assembling parts and components that come from, you guessed it, China.
And here's what makes it even crazier. The U.S. has basically said, oh, the specific rules for what we count as transshipment? Yeah, we'll get those to you in the coming weeks. Can you imagine? It leaves all these Thai exporters completely in the dark, just flying blind with no idea if their entire business model is about to get nuked by that 40% penalty. But believe it or not, that 40% penalty isn't even the scariest part of this story. There's another threat looming out there, something even bigger, something that threatens the very existence of the entire supply chain as we know it. And that threat is this. President Trump has talked about a 100% tariff. A blanket 100% tariff on all imported computer chips and semiconductors. The strategy here is crystal clear. Force American tech companies to pack up, come home, and build their stuff in the United States instead of relying on Asia. And here is the truly painful irony for Thailand in all of this. Who are the biggest electronics exporters shipping things from Thailand to the U.S.? They're American companies. So you have a U.S. policy specifically designed to pressure U.S. companies that ends up directly attacking the very foundation of Thailand's #1 export industry. It's a real catch-22.
Okay, so now that we've laid out the threats, let's put some numbers to this. Let's really see what is on the line for the Thai economy.
$21 billion. That's the value of the electronics. We're talking computers, phone components, all of it, that Thailand shipped to the U.S. just last year. A $21 billion revenue stream that is now squarely in the danger zone. And look, that money is absolutely critical. The U.S. isn't just some customer, it's the customer. It's the single biggest market for Thai electronics, buying up almost a third of everything they export. To lose access to that one market, well, it would be nothing short of catastrophic. But this isn't just about big, abstract numbers and billions of dollars, right? This is about people. We're talking about more than 238,000 people in Thailand whose jobs are in this sector. Their paychecks, their livelihoods, they are all tied directly to the fate of these exports. The stakes, really, could not be any higher. So when you put it all together, Thailand is standing at a major crossroads. That little bit of good news about a lower tariff, it's completely overshadowed by these enormous risks, and it's forcing the entire country into what is basically a race against time to figure out what to do next.
So what's the game plan? Well, the thinking is that there's a three-part strategy for survival. First, they have to invest upstream, meaning they need to attract money for high-value stuff, like wafer and semiconductor design, not just assembly. Second, you can't do that without the right people, so they've got to build a skilled workforce of engineers. And third, they need to rip up the old rulebook and modernize regulations to make it easy for that high-tech investment to flow in. The goal is simple. Stop being just an assembly line and start being a true high-value creator.
And that brings us to the final multi-billion-dollar question. This isn't just about getting through a tough patch. This is about fundamentally changing an economic model that has been the country's engine for decades. With global supply chains shifting at lightning speed, can Thailand completely reinvent itself before this window of opportunity slams shut for good?